Ladies and gentlemen, so today we are going to be going over my updated Marvel Contest of Champions offense tier list for May 2018, and we have made some pretty big updates, some pretty big changes in comparison to the last tier list. We've added in the 4 brand new characters. We've got Corvus Glaive, Proxima Midnight, Infinity War Iron Man, Captain America as well in the mix, and we've also split out Demigod into 2 different tiers, which I think was a change that was very much needed, because, you know, the demigod tier cluster was getting a little bit crowded, and there were some champions that were really rising above with a lot of the new content, and some champions that are still very, very good and very, very useful, but just in comparison to some of the newer characters that were coming in with crazy amounts of utility and slightly more effective uses were being pushed down a bit. But I still believe, you know, they're really, really good characters, and pretty much anything above amazing tier I generally consider like quite a good champion and quite a good pull to get from various crystals. But again, depends on your other comparative options as well. Now, before we start talking about everything to do with the tier list, I want to give the standard disclaimer that this tier list is just very, very rough to provide a rough idea to newer, progressing players and the general community on where I believe certain champions are at the moment in comparison to each other. Obviously, Marvel Contest of Champions is a very, very big and complicated game. There are like 120 something playable characters now, and even more in terms of enemies, and alongside that there are thousands of combinations of different nodes and scenarios. So yeah, it becomes incredibly complicated to say X champion is always better than Y champion. So you just need to kind of, you know, keep this in mind, that it's a very, very rough guide to which characters that I think are better than the other ones, and generally a little bit more useful for upgrade purposes. But, you know, if you get a character and you want to find more about it, it's always a good idea to have a bit of a YouTube search. There are always tons of different YouTube videos up for various champions that get added to the game. So yeah, be sure to check those out and do your research if you want the most, the clearest picture and the most in-depth knowledge into exactly how characters function and their various uses. Because again, Marvel Contest of Champions, man, it is a long-ass game and there's so much to it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, let's quickly go over what I believe to be currently the God tier champions, and also a bit of a definition as well for God tier characters. So God tier, my very rough definition is I define these characters as characters that often come up as the best solutions to various scenarios that are relevant on the forefront of endgame Marvel Contest of Champions. So the best, the most efficient options and characters that I feel are always fairly consistent throughout the months and have quite good use. So yeah, in terms of God tier, we have Iceman, just a evade counter, can tank special freeze, double immunities. Archangel, if you can bleed it, if you can poison it, he is 99% of the time, unless there's another factor in play that you need to take control of, for example power. Archangel is like the best option in the majority of scenarios if you can bleed and poison the opponent, and there is so much use for Archangel throughout the game. But again, he's a very circumstantial champion. If the opponent is bleed immune, if they're poison immune, he's not going to be that great, but if you can do both, chances are he's going to be the best champion to deal with that fight. And then we have Magic up next, just an absolute power control queen. Keep the opponent in the corner, spam special 2, get those stand-up intercepts right, you know, reverse a little bit of the damage taken with Limbo. Like, Magic is an easy game, easy life, power control goddess. She's just so incredibly good. Ghost Rider, bit of a Swiss Army knife in terms of his utility that's entirely sustainable. Really, really popular character for stuff like Alliance War at the moment. Also, we're seeing, we've seen him for the longest time in Alliance quests like Map 6, but he's so good for that. Dr. Voodoo, again, a very Swiss Army knife utility MVP champion. Maybe in terms of his overall desirability, Ghost Rider has pushed him down in some scenarios, but Dr. Voodoo, I think, kind of has this nice line between like Magic and Ghost Rider, where he has regeneration at the start of the fight, the ability to reduce ability accuracy by 50%, can nullify and also punish the nullify of buffs and by turning into poison via his special 1. Incredibly good power control to the level of Magic if you know how to play him very, very effectively and keep the opponent in the corner. So yeah, there's just a lot of interesting stuff that you can do with Dr. Voodoo. Very, very versatile champion there. Then we have Gwenpool, who is just a ton of bleed damage, ability accuracy reduction. You have a what is it, kind of gimped power lock on the special too, but that's, you know, all you need in certain scenarios there, and also ability accuracy reduction on the combos, so for longer fights we can get over 50 hits and get that, you know, minus 100% ability accuracy reduction guaranteed on Gwenpool. She can be incredibly useful. So yeah, Gwenpool still a very popular champion for a lot of people and still incredibly good. And the king of Marvel Contest of Champions, Blade. If it's a villain, if it falls into any of the tags that trigger danger sense on Blade, then they are essentially in the bin. Blade is just such an incredibly good character still, and yeah, just taking care of business left, right, and center. Regeneration, ability accuracy reduction, tons of damage, resistance to debuffs based on the amount of power he has, stun on the special free as well. You know, there's tons of little tidbits of Blade's utility that make him an incredible character. Then we have Medusa. So Medusa has just grown and grown in popularity because of like new characters coming in like Killmonger and Sentinel, making her abilities to shut down robots and also armor break even more valuable in the current state of the game. And with Iron Man Infinity War added as well, like she seems to be a pretty decent counter for the majority of his mechanics, but not a full counter to him. But also Medusa is just so incredibly useful, so much damage as well. So yeah, really solidifies her option as, I would say, maybe the best Cosmic at the moment, but there are some people who have Hyperion at rank 5 that I'm sure would be very up for debating that. However, I've seen some insane stuff from Hyperion currently in the current season of Alliance War, man. Hyperion just does so much damage, poison immune character, but the way that his passive power gain kind of changes the playstyle of the character and allows you to do some more interesting, different stuff can really come in handy for kind of top tier players there as well. So yeah, Hyperion, incredible skill cap to the character, but yeah, very interesting one whenever I see some endgame gameplay of him. But I think he's very much up the top there still. And then we have Spider-Man Stark Enhanced, just an absolute god along with Blade and Ghost Rider for the Holy Trinity. Yeah, lots of damage, assisted auto evades on specials, stun on the special one, takes advantage well of any power reserve nodes, can power drain on his heavy attack, shocks robots as well, good for getting Sentinel down with the shock charges. So yeah, just a great character there. Star-Lord, he's our absolute damage god in any scenario where you have a massive opponent and you need a ton of damage to take them down, and you can hold a combo. Star-Lord, he's going to be your guy. He's going to be your man. He's just so incredibly effective for that, but also he doesn't really have like too much utility outside of that. He's just like pure massive damage, but still kind of past like 250 or so hits, just nobody comes close to the damage output of Star-Lord there. So yeah, just an incredible character. And then finally we have the newest addition to the God tier, which is Void. So I decided to add in Void just because I think he's been doing so incredibly well recently in the game, especially with the big problems at the moment for a lot of stuff seem to be kind of like power control and also regeneration, especially when it comes to higher tier Alliance War, and Void just deals with these scenarios so incredibly effectively. He has so many good matchups, and yeah, I think he's a really good character. It does take a little while until you get to that first like fear of the Void to kind of ramp up the champion a bit, but after that he can take like any fight down. He can deal with pretty much anything. So yeah, he's just an absolute science god and so incredibly good for getting down some of the most impossible nodes in Alliance War at the moment. So yeah, really cool character. And then we have High Demigod, and these champions, I think, you know, are in the right scenario can all be probably defined as god tier, but they have their rare scenarios. But generally, High Demigod tier champions are just very good characters to use and very effective solutions. But maybe they lag behind various characters that are in god tier. But it's very borderline with these champions, I would say, for a lot of ones. So yeah, we have Sabretooth, ton of damage there, just ramps up and up with the Furies. Wolverine, some of the best regeneration in the game when awakened. Scarlet Witch, just an absolute roulette wheel of randomness. And I actually demoted Scarlet Witch from God tier to High Demigod just because she doesn't have that level of reliability, but she's very fun to play, and I think she's a great character, especially if you're fairly new to the game and you get Scarlet Witch. If you can get her awakened, you can just face roll with the character and just have like a really good time playing her. So she's What is it? Very useful for progressing players. Morningstar at 5 souls is a god tier character, I would say. But the fact that you need to capture souls and ramp her up first does make her a high demigod. You know, that's the kind of punishment of Morningstar there. But she is incredibly insane when she is 5 souls, man. What a good character. Killmonger is actually a character I've debated and might in my next iteration move to god tier. I'm very interested to see some more Alliance War gameplay, but I'm seeing a lot of good stuff from Killmonger at the moment. Like his True Strike, which allows him to bypass auto block and also evade for 16 seconds. It's just so incredibly valuable. So yeah, I have like really high hopes for Killmonger, but I just want to see some more gameplay. I want to be convinced a little bit more that he kind of is a top option, but yeah, I don't know. Killmonger is definitely a champion that I'm very close to moving up to god tier, I would say. Taskmaster is kind of like how would I describe Taskmaster? I don't know, like Elektra and Captain America World War II, maybe mixed into one, something like that. Maybe Black Widow Cap World War II, but, you know, he's got the block, he's got the, defensive ability accuracy reduction, and when played correctly, he does some pretty interesting burst of damage as well. So I think Taskmaster played efficiently when he's awakened, when he's got a high signature level. It's just a really great character, very versatile as well. Hawkeye is just amazing for the power control. Just keep the opponent in the corner, spam special 1. Not as effective as magic, but still a very good power controlling option there. Then we have Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight. Corvus Glaive for the short bursty fights is insane. I think we're also going to see an increased popularity in Corvus's showing up because of Infinity War Iron Man, and him being a very good counter to that for being able to disable all of his armor on any parry that Corvus Glaive throws. So yeah, Corvus just amazing for short bursty fights and Legends runs and all that kind of stuff. But longer fights, you know, if he doesn't have enough charges to deal with it, he's not going to be too much of a desirable champion to play. So yeah, very circumstantial there. And then we have Proxima Midnight, who has some interesting utility of always being able to parry the opponent, regardless of it being a projectile, which gives additional value to Iron Man Infinity War matchups, and stuff like Kingpin, Black Panther Civil War, and a few other champions and scenarios there, but also past 100 hits, like Proxima Midnight can just gain like insane damage once she completes all her missions, which might be something that is valued a little bit more in Alliance War, if we're seeing more Infinity War Iron Men kind of as final bosses and stuff like that. But I'm not exactly too sure how she's going to fit in there. But when it comes to stuff like Labyrinth of Legends and big hitting scenarios, I saw some pretty cool Thanos takedowns. I saw some awesome Labyrinth fights. She's just behind the god tier, but she's still doing quite well, man. I think there are some good uses for Proxima in the end game. Then we got Dr. Octopus, Infinite Power Lock, Infinite Heal Block. If you want either one of those, your man has it sorted. Vision, we have double immunities and very strong power control there, which is super desirable. So yeah, very high demigod tier champion. Iron Man Infinity War, absolute Swiss Army knife champion. There is so much this guy can do. Bleed immune, cold snap immune. What is it? Unblockable special 1, ability to counter regen, ability to counter all or nothing, and power control there. So yeah, Iron Man, I would rate him as a very high demigod tier champion. I think he's very versatile. He does a lot of stuff, as I said in yesterday's review video. He does a lot of stuff. He does nothing the best, but he can counter a lot of different stuff, so it makes him a good champion to bring. And in every single matchup, you know, there's a way to play him to do something. So yeah, I really like that character, man. He's doing quite well. So next up, we have Quake, who is always a very fun one to talk about, because there are a section of the community that really love Quake, man, and believe that she is the best character in game. But Quake is a very useful character, and she works incredibly well for a lot of matchups, but there aren't really any matchups and scenarios where Quake is the best option, in my opinion. And there are a lot of matchups and scenarios that can significantly either make Quake completely useless or really gimp the character to the point where she's not really even worth playing. So yeah, I value Quake a lot, and a lot of people brought up the the Archangel versus Quake question, because I was, you know, saying that Archangel as well has its disadvantages, but I think one of the big things when you think about Archangel and Quake in the comparison there is, like, look at fights like, you know, Labyrinth of Legends Magic or Realm of Legends, any single fight in there, and which one would you rather bring? You know, would you rather bring a 565 Quake, Quake or a 565 Archangel? And if the answer is you'd like to spend about 5 to 10 times longer on those fights, then it's obviously Quake. But if you'd like to get those fights done very quickly and efficiently, then the option is Archangel. But I still value Quake. I think she's a really, really good character, ton of uses, ton of great matchups. But yeah, just in my opinion, I still have not been convinced that she is the best champion for anything in particular. And then we have Luke Cage. Luke Cage, man, I'm loving Luke Cage so much. Like, they did a really, really solid job on his buff. He is so much fun to play. It's just keeping the opponent in the corner with the special 1 and hammering at them. You can reverse also power gain by getting more than 5 stacks of exhaustion. You can tank special freeze. He's a bleed immune character. Ability accuracy reduction on the special 2. Like, there's a lot of interesting stuff you can do with Luke Cage, and I've seen a lot of interesting Luke Cage gameplay, especially when it comes to stuff like Alliance War with all or nothing nodes. Like, he's really, really good for those, but all sorts of stuff in Alliance War Luke Cage is really finding a good use for, and arguably one of the best champions for fighting Thanos this month as well. So yeah, he's just been an absolute MVP there. Then we have Captain America, who again is a bit of a Swiss Army knife utility character. I don't really believe he does anything, to the best of my knowledge, the best, but there's a lot of stuff that Captain America can do very, very effectively. So yeah, I really like him. Ability to potentially reverse healing and power gain, but nowhere near, in my opinion, in the longer term, as effective as Void, but can do it a little bit quicker in certain scenarios, and maybe a preferred option to bring in. Really good block as well, some nice damage off the special too. So yeah, Captain America Infinity War, I think he's a great addition to the game. Very, very strong utility character, but obviously gains so much more utility via his synergies and also when awakened. So yeah, there is a lot to be dissected when it comes to that character, and hopefully we're going to do a video spotlight about on the channel soon. And then finally, in the high demigod tier, we have Gladiator Hulk for dealing with Dormammu's, Magic's, Mephisto's. Easy game, easy life. He's just an absolute treat to play. He is so much fun. You got a nice stun on both the special 1 and special 2. Heal block on the special 1 as well, and you have what is it, the Gimped Power Lock on the special 2 as well, which can be very, very fun for just continually smashing into the opponent. Bit of regeneration potential as well when he is awakened, and either him or the opponent drops below 20% health, so can potentially make him in some scenarios sustainable. But yeah, Gladiator Hulk, I think, is a real MVP character. And then in the low demigod tier champion, we have champions that I believe are just slightly below that. So we've got Wolverine X-23, Rogue, Dormammu, the Hood, Elektra, Daredevil Classic, Thor Ragnarok, Crossbones, Black Widow, Drax, Thor, Angela, Hela, Ultron, Sentinel, Hulk, Red Hulk. So yeah, I really like all these characters. I think they're all incredibly useful. Just my argument here is, I perceive the high demigod tier and god tier champions to be a bit more useful and a bit more effective, generally speaking. And then going down, we haven't really done like too many changes in some of the lower tiers. Not really a huge amount to move about here. I did move Karnak up actually after the True Strike buff, because I've seen especially with Medusa teams, Karnak being a little bit more popular for people that have played him as a 6-star, and he is working with that True Strike to bypass auto block and evade opponents, so he's getting a bit more effective there. But aside from that, just in the amazing tier, we have Storm, Psylocke, Cable, Nightcrawler, Beast Bishop, Mephisto, Guillotine, Karnak, Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Yondu, Green Goblin, Nebula, who I moved up as well actually. Especially, I'm liking Nebula a little bit more, and especially with that Proxima Midnight synergy, she's getting a little bit better there. Also moved up Punisher 2099 for the utility, because valuing that a little bit more. But then we have, MODOK, Captain America World War II, Yellow Jacket, and Sentry, who are all some fairly, okay, hard-hitting science characters, but, there are definitely better ones when we look to the left of the tier list. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the tier list video today. We've pretty much gone over all of the stuff worth talking about. Again, there's so much to the right-hand side of the tier list. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this update to the tier list today, and if you do have kind of any good arguments for characters being changed around in the rankings, I'm always open to hearing kind of good, well put together arguments in the comments section. If you're like, oh, Moon Knight should be a god tier champion, I'm probably not going to listen to you. But if you do put forward some good cases, I'm always open to interesting arguments and convincing stuff and expanding my perspective. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, you got to remember, this tier list, my tier list, is also based very much off my opinion as well. well. So yeah, the only person you got to convince, man, is me if you want to have some of the champions moved up. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Take care and have an absolutely fantastic day.